Hey yo, Blake here from the Southern Cowboy, and today I'll be reviewing what to look for in a pure, high quality cowboy hat. Let's get straight into it. Now, for all y'all starting to get into felt hats, fur felt hats and all, y'all know that there's different companies out there, right? And well, different companies have like different materials now, which is why I'm making this video. Now, the inventor of the cowboy hat, John B. Stetson, the first hat ever made by him was made of pure rabbit fur felt. While he was in Colorado, he made a hat out of pure rabbit felt. He wore it to combat the climate of Colorado. And then a cowboy went by him, he said, "That's a nice hat." He bought it from him, and then that's when it started. So he made hats for, gentlemen and the working cowboy. Now, fast forward to the 1900s, there was only different grades. And he made the X rating system, meaning, now, just to, clarify, if y'all don't know what the X rating system is, it depends on how much beaver is in that hat. Back then, a 4X was like 25 to 50% beaver, and a 10X was 100% beaver. Now, fast forward to today, there's like 6X, which is pure rabbit or whatever, whoever you're buying it from, all the way to a 500 to a 1000X, which doesn't make sense, but oh well. So, John B. Stetson made that. Now, fast forward, fedoras were introduced, right? And those were more for like the gentlemen. And then you move forward to the 2000s, things changed and all that. There's fedoras, there's fur felt, and there's straws. Now, straw hats, I will say this, straw hats were made to quote-unquote combat the summer, which, in my opinion, that is just like bull crap, but oh well. But yeah, straw hats, don't combat the sun at all. Now, anyway, you're probably wondering, what fur is used to make cowboy hats? Now, if you got a 2X, it would be wool. Wool. A 2 to 4X would be wool. No rabbit, no beaver, no. Now, 6X would be either, depending on the company, blended rabbit and wool, or just pure rabbit. While a 10X, you get 10% beaver, etc. That's how it works. But here's the thing. The X system is not like monitored, meaning whoever you buy it from, they could add whatever they want. Like, they could just say, oh, we'll say it's beaver, but it's rabbit. Yeah, that's how bad the X system is. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all this. What I'm gonna show you is a few fur grades and a few hats, okay? And if you are a vegan, get out, okay? Because if you want to complain on my YouTube and say, oh, you have these showing, go eat a steak, will ya? Go to McDonald's, like go get a New York strip, and if you change your mind, come back. If you're not, how about you keep eating trees? Yeah, beaver. Now, back to it. Alright, so let's just say you just started getting into hats and you don't want to spend $1,000 yet, or you're not going to wear a hat a lot. Now, instead of Stetson, which I highly do not recommend Stetson, because that is the company which is not overpriced, but it's also poor quality. Why do I say that now? Like, I used to be at Stetson, but I stopped after finding out that they don't use beaver and they only like make blended hats. So instead of Stetson, One company I would check out for a starter who's starting into hats is a Cobra. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck is a Cobra? So last year, well, a few months ago I guess you could say, but last year I got my dad an Cobra from Australia. They're made in Australia, and they make cowboy hats, surprisingly. Now this is the Australian variant of Stetson, basically, you could say. But they do not make beaver felt hats. They strictly make European hair felt hats. And there is a difference with European hair and rabbit. Rabbit is tiny, okay? While European hair, on the other hand, is a bit more, I guess, and depending, like I said, depending on the company, it's, in my experience, stiffer. Like, yeah, that's stiff. Now, a Cobra only uses European hair fur felt. Now, where do they get their fur? They get theirs from Europe and Australia. So, these are probably made in Australia, and the leather sweatband is not that faux crap, no. The leather sweatband, which is the inside, right here, is Rowan sheepskin. So, sheep leather, like sheepskin. Yeah. And they make it out of sheepskin because what it's supposed to do, unlike lambskin, sheepskin here is, and I'll look it up actually, in fact, just, you know, to show you evidence here. Alright. So sheepskin here is from a sheep. We all know that. Think of it as the bee-free bomber jacket. There are two grades of sheepskin. Shearling and then sheepskin. Shearling is where the fur is still attached to the sheep. Right? And it makes good for jackets. We all know that. But when you get that fur off, it makes sheep leather. That's what it's called. Some of them call it Rowan leather, which I don't know why, but you know, if it's an Australian thing, that's their thing. But Rowan, whatever you call it, sheep leather here, if you compare it with lambskin, now, a lamb is a baby, while a sheep is an adult. So the lamb, when you have compared it to a lamb and a sheep, lamb leather tends to be softer, right? Which, okay, if you were to get American Hat Company, most of their leather sweatbands are lambskin. But there is a negative on lambskin, right? And lambskin tends to shrink. Now, that's not bad, right? But here's the issue. If you don't condition it, like the sweatband of, I'm not talking about sheepskin, I'm talking about lambskin. If you don't condition it, all that sweat from your head will go to either the back, right here, where I'm pointing at, or the front, and it will shrink too much. Now, I used to wear a 200X American steel and a 40X American steel before I started with Burns. And in my experience, the lambskin, sweatband shrunk too much. Like, it shrunk here, and I had no tape. I took it out when it shrunk perfectly. It shrunk too much to my liking, to a point where this area just kind of, I guess you could say, gave in, and it would give me a headache anytime I wore it. So like, here, I'm gonna put this for instance here. I'm gonna show you just the difference, okay? Now, look here. This is the bow, right? What it did is, now, I know it's not the best example, but this is what I'm trying to say. It shrunk from here. Now, it originally was like somewhat like this, and it went up a bit. And when it went up, it kind of wouldn't shrink back down a bit. making it harder to put on a bit and give me a headache. That's what I'm trying to say, right? And after that, I was like trying to figure out like how do I fix this and all. Well, yeah, there's in most hats they have a, well, let me get this back out. In most hats they have, you see this area? Now I don't know if you watched the Houston Hat Guy, but he explained that they have a metal rod, well, something like that, in a hat. Now, I don't feel no metal rod in here, nor in this burns, but what I do know is that hat companies will put a metal rod in the sweatband to retain the shape, right? Now, this metal rod is somewhat like something you would use for, how do I put it? Like, you know when you make a project or something, and you have those, and I think it's foil or something, I don't know, okay? I'll have to look. But they'll put it in the sweatband to retain the shape. Now what people would do is, they would cut this part open by the way. They would do this. They would cut this part and get a plier or whatever, or even use it like this, and they would go like, and it would come out. Now, I did watch on TikTok, the Houston Hat Guy did say this, and this is one thing you gotta look out for. If you let someone wear that hat that you just wore, and their head size is larger than yours, it's gonna stay like that guy's head size forever, and it won't return to its shape. Which is why I will not recommend cutting the metal rod, if your hat has that. Now, you're probably wondering now, like, okay, so I pulled it up, by the way, the sheepskin. Reason why a Cooper uses the sheepskin is comfort and warmth, and the advantages, get this, it's not like lambskin, meaning it's not as fragile, I guess you could say. However, if you had sheepskin on a jacket compared to a sweatband, it would be better for a sweatband than a jacket compared to lambskin. Why? Well, let me take you somewhere, okay? This doesn't shrink as much as lambskin because of the benefits of sheep and the fur. Now, not many people know this, but like, because sheep are adults, they're larger, and they have these, like, I guess pores you can call them, which when an animal has pores, it tends to be like, depending on that animal, if it's a cow, a steer, or a sheep. Now, the pores can sometimes help, if that somewhat makes sense or not. But this doesn't stretch as lambskin as much, or shrink as much as lambskin. Now, look, I'm trying, and I did a test before with the American when I first got this, just to make sure it doesn't shrink too much for my dad. Look, it retains its shape. Now, the lining of an Akubra compared to other manufacturers in the USA, because this is an Australian company, what they do, and this is clever, I would like to see an American brand do this. Instead of putting a silk or a satin liner, they have this, I think it's silk or satin, I don't know, but look what they did here. I'm gonna show y'all real quick. They added like this wrap here on their hats, and it protects their logo. So meaning when you start sweating, this will get discolored, but this won't. Meaning this is easily cleanable, kind of. That being said, yes, I mean this will kind of be dirty, but this won't. Which I find interesting for a company like Akuba to do. Now, back to like the hat. This is again made of European hair. And European hair, if you don't know, is actually, in my opinion, is better than rabbit, and here's why. European hair, like I said, is stiffer, while rabbit tends to be more on the softer side. And fur is graded, by the way. Keep in mind. There's a grading system for fur and all that. Yeah, but we'll get into that soon. And if you don't know, I actually did this with my dad's hat. I kind of burnished the edges with a torch to give it like this rustic look for him and make sure it kind of matched. Because, yeah, there are some that, yeah. But I'm still kind of shaping it to make sure it's right and no, because this is coming from Australia, you gotta realize the one thing that you gotta note is when this is coming overseas, which obviously you have to deal with, you know, the border patrol and customs, all that. Yeah, you still have to deal with that when ordering online, but whatever. They will open and put it back and boom, you get it. Now, this, and I'm going to show you actually right now. Okay? Here's what I like about this. I'm not going to put a lot. I have a glass of water. Alright? Watch this, okay? I want you to watch very carefully. Let me pull you all closer. I don't know if that's a good view, but oh well. It doesn't, and I will clean this up. Oh. You saw that, right? It bounces. And look, it's not soaking in. How cool is that? Now that's European hair. Oh, hold on. Now that's European hair. So, you're probably wondering, so European hair is water resistant? Yes and no, and here's why, okay? Like I said, European hair would be best for a starter. And also, if you're wondering if this came with the hat, I bought it separate. It's a crocodile hat band for my dad. But yeah, that's a Cobra. But let's just say you're now thinking like, okay, but what is the best company for people who wear hats 24/7, 365 days a week and all that? So, the best hat, in my opinion, there are different companies, right? Now, let's get this out of the way. Companies I would stay away from is Stetson, because I come to find that, in my opinion and experience, they lie to their customers, and when you get it, like, you get that hat, there's either blemishes, or there will be an issue with the hat, or the dye will just be terrible. Pro hats, stay away. Those are more like, they're made of wool. And wool, if you don't know, is the worst for a hat. Like, yeah, I mean, wool, don't get me wrong, you could use that for fedora. Just maybe you could pass it for as a fedora, but when it's a hat and you're wearing that, yeah, I'm sorry, man, but you're screwed. Now, pro hats, in my opinion, I feel like if you are wearing that, like, do they have a better grade of wool? Now, wool can be graded, I believe so. I'm not sure. But I did hear that pro hats are somewhat a better option for, like, bright colors and all, you know, for women and all that. Now, that's pros. Another brand I would highly recommend staying away from is Atwood and all that. You want to find a brand that's trustworthy. Like Suratelli. Suratelli, I heard, is good and all, right? And I did hear a lot of good things about the Suratelli hat company. But like, Suratelli, and I'm sorry by the way if my camera's like goofing off. I'm trying to get it all stabilized. Suratelli hat company though, kind of listens to the people. They know what they want. However, it is hard to get a 100X from Suratelli. I don't know why, but it's just for some odd reason hard to get a 100X from them. And you cannot order from their website. Now, if you're looking for a blended hat, the best I would do is like either, if you're looking for a hat that's a 6X, if you are wanting to go for the X quality, which I would stay away from a company with the X rating system. I'd either go with Resistol for like a 20X or so, or Bailey when it comes to a 20X, or Rodeo King and American. Now, I have a bunch of friends that wear American Hat Company, and they said it's the best hat in the world. I used to think it was the best hat, in my opinion, but I don't anymore. I think it's like good for like blended, blended hats. Now that brings me to my next topic. Why do they blend hats? They do it to add more durability and more softness to the hat. Meaning if you get a 40X, it's 40% beaver and 60% rabbit. 50X, 50% beaver, 50% rabbit, etc. Right? But when you get to an 100X, it is 100% pure beaver. No rabbit, no wool, just pure beaver. However, beaver fur is graded. And that brings me to my next topic. What is the grade of beaver? Now, there's only, in my experience, 3 companies, or well, 4, I guess you could say, that work with pure beaver, but graded ones. Rodeo King, they make 100X, which is 100% beaver back hair, and they make a 500X, which is pure beaver belly hair. Same with American. However, American's different. 100X American's pure beaver back hair. 200X American's 50% back hair and 50% belly hair of a beaver. And American's 500X is 100% beaver belly hair. Right? Those are for X quality. And then you got Greeley Hatworks, which they don't go by the X quality. They just say pure beaver, which there's pure belly hair. And then we go to the best of the best for affordable option. Burns. The one I have is 100% pure beaver, but it's not back hair. This is belly hair. Now, why is beaver fur graded, and what's the difference? Which is why and like I said in the video, if you are a vegan, get out. And if you complain that, oh, you're showing animals, shut up. Go eat a McDonald's hamburger or something. Get yourself a New York strip or a hot dog. And if you like a hot dog, a New York strip, and McDonald's, you can come back if you want. But other than that, how about you go eat some trees, you beaver. But anyway, like I said, beaver fur is graded, which is why I brought, a fur pelt. So I have 2 pelts, okay? Now, you must note this. Beaver fur, and there's a reason of grading these animals. See, the beaver, not only was it used for hats, but it was used for many, like, garments. And at one point, surprise, surprise, it was actually money. Now, why was this used for money? See, back in, I think, the 17 or 1800s, the North American expansion and all, like Canada and the United States, there is a company called Hudson Bay. And what they did is they would trade beaver pelts with the Native Americans, and they used it as a currency. Now, they used it because of the value and how good it was. And they would trade beaver pelts for like, other furs like rabbit, deer, wool, whatever. And then when time went on, it was still considered a currency back then, like 1800s. But then somewhere in the 1900s, or like middle 1800s, it tended to change. But it was still a value in Canada and the Native Americans and the white settlers and all that, or British settlers. So then when they found out the properties of beaver, if you don't know, beaver fur is 100% water resistant and also retains its shape better than rabbit right here, or European hair. Now, also, beaver is really the best material known to man and makes the best hats in the world. Now, what are the grades of beaver fur? So, the grades I'm about to get to right now, actually, as we speak. Alright, so I'm gonna put y'all down here. Okay? Alright, so look here. You guys are right here. This is the back hair, okay? You see this fluffy spot, which looks like mouton fur? Well, that's like that because, you see, they have like almost like 2 layers of fur. There are the long hairs, which are right here, and there's these like hairs that are extremely thick. And I mean extremely thick, where when you felt it, those hairs get locked on, and I mean very, very locked on. And once those hairs are locked on, they're unbreakable. Like, you cannot break them at all whatsoever. Now, this is the back. And as you go on, the back is much darker and tends to be like, I guess you could say a bit like thicker, right? Meaning it does make a great work hat and can also be well for like, I guess, almost like heavyweight depending on the ounce of fur. Now, then we got the medium side, which is what I like to call, and very few do this. Some people get this side where it's a bit of both at once, right? But not many do it anymore. And as we go from the back, which is more affordable because of these long hairs and all that. Because the long hairs, you gotta realize, back hair is more affordable than belly because there is not much belly fur on the market than there was years ago. And so many use back hair because of the thickness and all that. But here's the truth. Belly hair and back hair are the same. Which brings me to my next part of the beaver. The belly hair. Now, I'll show you all this. You see how it looks a bit fluffy than the back? This is because of the environment the beaver's in. Belly hair, what happens is, like, because beavers live in like rivers, streams, lakes and all that, and keep in mind, they go from and yes, this is actually true, they're located from the panhandle of Florida all the way to Alaska. Yeah, that's how far north they go. Now, the further north you go, is like the darker, or I guess you could say thicker, their fur will be. Why do I say thicker? See, they live in an environment where it's extremely cold, and when it's winter time, that fur is a bit thicker because it maintains their body temperature, and also it helps keep the water off them. Yeah, so this kind of helps shed water off their fur easily. And belly fur actually makes the best material for a cowboy hat, being because of the thickness, which is still the same, the softness, and it's soft but it's supple at the same time, making it excellent choice for a cowboy hat. And it feels, some describe it as feeling velvet from space, while others describe it feeling it more like, it feels more like, more luxurious like than mink. So meaning, in others' opinion, they think it's more luxurious than a mink fur felt hat. Now, that is why belly fur is not really available as much on the market nowadays. Meaning, the only companies that have belly fur are American Hat Company, Rodeo King, and my favorite, Burns Cowboy Shop, which they only use belly fur on their hats and not back hair, because they want to give people a hat for affordable price with no compromise whatsoever. Now, here's the thing that y'all have to realize. There are different colors of beavers. And you're like, what do you mean? See, because beavers are in different environments, there are some beavers that are different colors. And I know it's gonna be like, now, how do I put this? If you compare the beaver from the Arctic to the western US and western half of Canada compared to the eastern part, you will see a difference. The one I just showed you, believe it or not, is more from the west coast. Why do I say that? Because look at the color very carefully. It's dark, right? But it's not as dark as the one I'm about to show you right here. It may not pick up on the camera as properly, but I promise you, this is what it shows on, like, in real life, okay? Now, this is from the west, being that it's more of a blonde, brownish tone, and because of that tone, now they get this tone by environment. So if you live in the western half of the United States, like Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, including Arizona sometimes, they will be this color because the eastern half sometimes, like the east coast of, like, well, the northeast of the United States tends to be like this, just a tiny bit chilly. And here's why I say that, because when you look at the northeast half of the United States compared to the west, Maine, which most of beavers come from Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania. If you look how close those states are to Quebec, Quebec is one of the closest provinces that actually is part of the Arctic, right? So because of that geography, it tends to make the beavers on the east coast darker. Now, because of how far away Alaska is from Montana and all, it tends to make them a bit of this blonde to brownish tone, which I showed you. Now, this one right here, and it's going to be hard to pick up on this camera, is from the west. I mean, not the west, I'm sorry, the east. You see how it kind of looks a bit darker? This is because of the environment and the geography of the Northeast. Because of the fact how Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont are close, like border Quebec, which again, Quebec is part of the Arctic Circle. It tends to make them this dark, unique color, like this chocolate brown tone. Because of that, it makes the fur of the beaver darker, and it makes it look like a very extremely rich dark color, like something that would be really nice on a fur jacket or something, or even a fur collar. Now, does this change the beaver's, like, I don't know, system, or does it make them fatter or something? No, not necessarily at all. Does it change their water resistance? No, not at all. But what it does change is, depending on the geography and the location of where these beavers are, if they're in the western half of the United States and Canada, they're going to be expected to be a bit blondish brown color. If they're on the eastern half of the United States and Canada, and surprise, surprise, even in the Yukon and Alaska, like the Arctic Circle, they will be expected to have, again, this dark brown color. And if you compare that, I know it looks the same. I promise you this, it ain't the same. Look, this is the lighter one. This is the darker color. That's the difference between the grays. Now, there are some hat makers that use, and I don't understand, but at the same time, this is a clever idea. Some hat makers do, and I mean it, make fur felt hats out of nutria. And you're probably wondering, what the heck is a nutria? I'm about to show you. But this one's dyed, meaning it's not the natural color, but this one is like dyed to this color. So I'm sorry if I don't have a natural one, but this is the only one I could find. Now, nutria compared to beaver, it's the second cousin of the beaver. Now, this is a nutria fur, which I decided to cut it into a piece, kind of make it easier. Now, this is dyed black. This is not the natural color, and you can tell it's dyed because of the leather, the flesh side. Now, nutria is, like, I think it's the third largest rodent in the world, right? And what sets these two apart? Nutria tends to be smaller than beaver, but nutria are not from North America. They're from South America. And I will, at the end of the video, I will show photos of these two animals side by side, and why I say this is the third largest rodent in the world. And so, that being said, nutria tends to be looking like, if you don't know what this is, if y'all don't know, there's a thing called mouton. I think that's the mouton or something. It's sheepskin, you know, shearling, I guess you could call it. And yes, this is nutria. I believe this is a plucked one, but this is all I had to show you. It tends to be, compared to beaver, a bit softer, right? It's a bit softer on the soft side, but one benefit that I will say, and I'll give this, nutria is a tiny bit lighter, because being that this is the third largest rodent, you may think, isn't it going to be heavy as beaver? Not necessarily. It's going to be a bit lighter, depending on the manufacturer and who makes that hat for you. Now, It is very water resistant. Same water resistance as beaver, right? And also, it's extremely soft. Now you're probably wondering, doesn't the softness take away the durability? No, not necessarily. The softness is more of I guess you could say it's more for trying to think. It's more for like a fur for a fedora or a Western fedora mix. And if you don't know what a Western fedora is, it's more like an open road or a cowboy hat with this brim but a teardrop shaped crown. That's a Western fedora. That's what it's mostly known for, like that type of weight. And yes, there's a weight for felt hats. There's Western weight, which I believe is like 8 ounces or so, and then there's a dress hat weight, which is like a 4 ounce. I don't know. I might need to be corrected on that part, but yeah, those are the weights. And Nutria tends to be kind of a lighter weight than beaver because of that fur, it tends to be lighter than beaver felt, and it is perfectly water resistant. Like I said, it's perfect for water resistancy, right? And yeah, you have a point. But what is the drawback from Nutria? Nutria, here's the thing. Nutria is extremely hard to get for a felt hat, being because not many people make Nutria felt hats. The only place you could get a Nutria felt hat or 100% Nutria fur felt is calling a hat maker and saying, hey, do you guys happen to sell a Nutria felt hat or any of that? And if they do, then ask them how long does it take and how much. And because of the scarcity of Nutria felt, it may shock you, Nutria felt is more less expensive than beaver because not many hat makers make them, and beaver felt is at a higher demand than Nutria. So because of that history and all that, Nutria is just a tiny bit more affordable than beaver felt. Now, there are other hat makers that make hats out of different furs, including, and I don't know why in the world people would make it out of this, chinchilla. Chinchilla, yeah. Now, I would not recommend a chinchilla hat because when you think about it, chinchilla has to be blended most of the time because chinchilla alone, like, don't get me wrong, yeah, the softness of that hat, okay, I get it. They say it's to add luxury to the hat and all that, and durability. Well, reality check. Nutria doesn't do anything. I mean, not Nutria. Chinchilla doesn't do anything. In fact, because of how small that animal is, it takes like, I think 10 to 20 hides just to make one hat. That's just a waste of fur right there. I'm not sure, you might want to correct me on that part, but no, that's just way too much. And it is like $5,000 for a chinchilla felt hat. But Burns sells them for like $3,000 or so, I believe. But yeah, chinchilla I would highly not recommend either for a felt hat. And mink. Mink, yeah. Mink, it goes both ways. American Hat Company makes a 1000X with 90% beaver belly hair and 10% mink, adding a bit of softness, but it still could be used as a work hat. But most of the people like it as a dress hat, which that's not how it should work. You see, pure beaver hat is more of a work hat than a dress hat, and there's a reason. Because beaver fur can stand 24/7 work days, while rabbit fur is a dress hat and it's more formal, I guess you could say. And same with European hair and mink. So reality is that rabbit hair, well, European hair is more dressier and more formal for like formal events, like a wedding or a a fancy dinner. Like, if you're gonna wear a hat for a wedding or a fancy dinner, go with European felt. Like, go with a European hair fur felt or mink. But if you want something that wants to stand up to the test of time and wanted to hold its shape for the rest of your life and outlast you, go with 100% pure beaver. No matter if it's back hair or belly hair, I still recommend pure beaver hat over a blend, right? And well, that being said, like mink, that's more of a dress hat again, but at the same time, you could get away with it as a work hat, but at the end of the day, you don't know if it's gonna stand the test of time, man. So that being said, I myself, would I get a mink hat? Maybe, probably in black or something. Only issue is they don't make a lot of colors for a mink felt hat. That's one thing you gotta keep in mind. Same with Nutria, unless you get lucky with a hat maker. So that's the furs that they make hats. I mean, those are the types of furs that hats are made of. Now, that being said, if you are looking for a hat for a starter and you're not wearing a hat so much often, like you're wearing it for dress occasions and all, one brand I will recommend to you is a Cobra, because it's lighter weight. Well, medium weight, I should correct myself. It's medium weight, and let me take my burns off. I'm gonna show you something real cool. Another thing is, depending on the fur, it affects the color. This is the chocolate color, which is in Australia called Loden. It's more of a chocolate color. While this is my Burns custom hat, pure beaver in chocolate. I know it's not showing as much because of the sun. I apologize, but that's Burns. Now, if you get a European hair, it's going to be more of a lighter color, even if it's dark. So meaning, if you get a black color, it's going to appear lighter. If you get gray, it's going to appear lighter as well. And that's because rabbit hair and European hair is more of a grayish fur, while beaver, on the other hand, is a dark color, and beaver is also a brownish, like western beaver from Montana and all, like the western United States, it's going to be like a brownish blonde, while beaver from the eastern half of the United States and the Arctic Circle are going to be like a blackish brown or a chocolate brown color. That's how it goes, making it like darker than a European hair felt hat. And mink is like, I'd say mink is the same way. Because of the fur of a mink, it's going to be darker for a felt hat. And pure beaver felt hats, the grades, if you get 100X, which is pure beaver back hair, or a pure beaver back hair felt hat, it's going to appear as somewhat of a dark color if you get a black hat or so. But if you get a pure beaver belly hat, like 100% pure beaver belly hair, the color will show perfectly, and you could see the color clearly. It's going to be darker for darker colors than the back hair. And one more thing, if you are thinking of getting a lighter color hat, your lighter colors will be expensive. Reasoning is because it's harder to make lighter colors like white or silver belly. And silver belly is like, I think $200 more for a silver belly than a black. Same with a white hat and all. So that being said, colors I recommend for a felt hat, I'd go with chocolate, black, which I'm not a guy who would wear a black hat. I used to, but no, it's just outdated. It's too much. Or slate, charcoal, or steel. Those are the colors for a dark hat. But I mostly would wear a chocolate, slate, or a charcoal hat, because those stay cleaner. Black tends to stay clean too, but it gets dark, like dirty really easy, and it's really easy to see that. But if you want a lighter color, go with silver belly or natural. Natural is 100% beaver, and depending on the time of season, there'll be 1 out of 3 hats that look different because of this as well. So meaning you could get a natural color. If you get a natural in the spring to summer, it's gonna appear, let me get it out, it's gonna appear like this almost, meaning it's gonna appear more of a brownish color, because when you harvest in the spring and summer, well, early summer I guess you could say, when fur season's over for that time, the beavers are gonna be like on the west side that color. And also when they're finished making that felt hat, it's gonna appear like a lighter brown. As if you get it in the fall or winter, it's gonna appear as more of a slate or grayish tone. And it's not dyed. Natural is undyed, by the way, meaning that is the natural color of a felt hat. That being said, spring to summer, it's going to appear of a brownish natural color, and fall and winter, it's going to appear as a grayish color, if that makes sense to you. Now, if you ever get a felt hat, just remember, take care of that felt hat, because it will be your life partner forever. Make sure you get a clean horse bristle brush. Just do this, by the way, because keep in mind, when you wear them in the elements, you want to make sure it stays looking sharp, okay? And just like that, by the way, make sure you have a horsehair brush. Make sure it matches the color. Get a black horsehair brush for your darker colors. Get a light horsehair brush for your lighter colors. That's how it goes. And if you have a light color, make sure you get a light hat cleaner if needed. Get yourself a hat sponge. If it's a wool, rabbit, or even sometimes a blended hat. You don't need a sponge for a pure beaver hat, because if you get the belly hair, you're less likely to need that sponge, unless it's stuck in there good. Now, also, one more thing, hat etiquette. One thing you must know, one, ladies, never take your man's hat from your boyfriend or husband without their permission. I know it sounds bad, and don't go to a bar and be like, hey, nice hat, let me take it. No, okay? Don't do that. Ask politely, or if the gentleman hands it to you to wear, then you can, and you have his permission, and you probably have his heart. And for the guys out there, do not take another man's hat, or else you gotta go to the dentist, and you better get them tooth fixed, because if you take another man's hat, you're gonna get knocked in the mouth, okay? Crap happens like that when you take another man's hat and you touch someone else's hat. Now, also, store your hat in either a box, no plastic bag at all, no plastic bag. That's gonna ruin the hat forever. And it will be hard to get off. And when you need to place your hat, do not place your damn hat on the bed, or crap will happen to you. You know what they say. Never put a hat on the bed, or you're gonna have bad luck for life, and you gotta spit in it. If you have a hat, don't place it like this. Don't. What are you doing? Go like this, because the crown is sturdier than the brim. Depending on, no matter the material, still place it like this. Or if you want to kind of keep the brim in shape, you could get away with this part. You get it? Make sure the front is like this. That's it. Because when you do that, it keeps the brim maintained. Now, that's how you store it. And do not pick your hat on the brim. Don't be like, unless you have to. Like, people have a different way of putting it on. I used to do this a lot. I still do sometimes. But mostly, pick it by the crown. The crown is harder. It's more sturdier than the brim. Go like this. And if you're shaking a woman's hand, pick your hat off. Greet them. It lets them know you're friendly. Alright? If the national anthem is playing, take your hat off. Take your damn hat off and salute the troops. Go like this. Alright? If you're inside someone's home, take your hat off unless they don't care or, you have their permission. If you're in church, take your hat off. If you're at a wedding, you could keep your hat on if you want, but when it's the wedding, like, the bride and all, take it off. Alright? That being said, that's the etiquette for a cowboy hat, and that is what to look for in a cowboy hat. Alright? So, at the end of the day, if you are looking for a first-time hat, go with a 100% European hair, and look for a Kubra for a starter hat. And if you are looking for a hat that is blended, go with American for a 40X or so. But if you are looking for a pure beaver hat that is true to you and won't break the bank, get yourself a Burns hat. Tell them that Blake Gaudreau sent you from the Southern Cowboy, and tell them that you want a pure beaver hat. That being said, because at the end, they're nice people, and their hats won't break the bank. I promise you that. And if you take good care of your hat, whether it's in a Kubra, American, or a Burns custom hat, it will last you a lifetime. So, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all learned the different fur grades of felt hats used. And I also hoped that you all learned about the fur grade system after showing you all these beavers and what to look for in a hat and teaching you all about the cowboy hat etiquette. That being said, I hope you all enjoyed this educational video. I will probably do a bit more educational video to educate those who want to look for something, whether it's a knife, like what to look for in a knife, a leather, good pair of cowboy boots, a leather bag, satchel, possible bag, or again, like what to look for in a hat, whatever, or even what to look for in jeans or garments, etc. That being said, I hope I helped you figure out what to look for in a cowboy hat. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and I will put those brands, the best brands in my opinion, that are good for you and are trustworthy, in the link of my video. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Hope you all have a great day. Keep it Southern.